For our Canadian lifters, pure passion, real results, what you put in your body should matter. Pure Vita Labs PVL supplements are clean, tested, and approved, powering athletes for over 25 years. They also power the KOTL podcast. You could trust PVL. Use code KOTL15 for partnership pricing at PVL.com. Six-pack Lapadat, we got Delaney Wallace, and we're just talking about how it feels to be back from Sheffield. The dude, that was the biggest event in powerlifting ever. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
Ever. And you were a part of it.
Like, yeah, it's like a surreal feeling. That was like no other powerlifting meet I ever experienced. I actually felt like I was playing football again. Like I felt like I was in a football arena.
It was crazy. Like the stream didn't convey how nuts it was in that arena. It was insane, man. The stadium was packed. The balcony was packed. 2,000 people. They were chanting. They would be chanting. And if they didn't like a call, they would boo it like a soccer arena. They boo if they didn't like a call.
Yeah.
Fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that before in my life.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to some of like the guys afterwards, and like after Sheffield was over, we're like, every other meet that we do after this, we're just gonna be like, damn, it's not Sheffield.
There's nothing. There is nothing like that. I don't give a fuck. Like nobody could tell me nothing about, well, what about this? Stop, man, stop. It was crazy.
No, like literally, like from like the opening squat, like I remember walking out on like the onto the platform, and like literally on my way to the platform, I could feel the energy in the room. Like I was just like, yeah, like this is showtime. Like I literally felt like I could absorb the energy of like all the people in the room and just like make it do whatever I wanted. It was a crazy event. It was no other powerlifting competition is even close.
I remember Evie walked out onto the platform, who like ended up winning, and she was like, the expression on her face when everybody just the pop she got, and everyone went nuts, and she was like, "Holy fuck!" Like the expression on her face was like, "Holy shit!" Like it was. They had like glow sticks. They had like real programs you get, like when you go to real like events. They had programs made on every single seat you sat down. There was a program waiting for you with like glow sticks and like a package for you. Every single 2,000 seats, and people were like, it was crazy when the chanting, like "Hey Zeus," or like they would start chanting "Hey Zeus, Hey Zeus," and there was like before he lifted, and what it was, or the French team would stand up when a French lifter came on, or if a Brit was on the stage, like Joey Namani or Mo was on stage. Holy shit, did that place pop, man. It was crazy how like when Jesus went for his last deadlift, everybody was on. 2,000 people stood up at the same and packed. Stood up at the like in the stands, like packed, and started chanting. And I was like, fucking never seen this before in my life, man. And then when the music was playing, it was so loud I could feel my chest rumbling. And I was like, and I could hear people chanting, and it was like, this is fucking nuts, man.
I remember one of the girls, I forget which one, she said that like she couldn't even hear the bench command because people were screaming so loud. And I was like, that's awesome. Like that's awesome. Like the ref has to like come up to your ear and like scream it because you can't even hear it.
And they're like 6 feet apart.
The energy was crazy. The energy was crazy.
It was, I couldn't believe it. So I was just telling you before we came on, I could like, coming back to my normal life now is like so mundane and boring. And like, you got like the post meet blues. I got crazy post meet blues, and I was just commentating Playboy. What the fuck? Like, I don't know how you must feel going back to like talking about finances and shit. How do you go back to a normal life after that?
You don't. I just look around like this is whack.
This is whack. Although
I gotta go to the next one.
You couldn't live what we experienced like every weekend because you burn out like a rock star. But still, like first off, let's talk about the performance, and then we'll talk about all the extra caveats on top. but let's talk about the performance, what it means, and what you hope for in the future to snowball off of, and some of the opposition that'll be coming your way. Then we could break in all the other caveats. But I said on the preview show, like you had hit 822.5 in 2021. And since then, you have never returned to 822.5. The total dipped. And you showed potential to. And I was saying, this guy's in his 20s. It's not like he's past his prime. He's capable. It just hasn't transpired and happened yet. And you were showing me some of your lifts in DMs, being like, and you're like, can't post this, can't tell nobody. So I didn't say the numbers, but on the previous show, they were like, look at Delaney's extremely confident. And I said, I'm not going to say numbers, but I'm going to tell you from what I've seen, he has a reason to be confident. It's not just bold bluster. I don't know what's going to happen on the day. Anything can happen, but the guy is peaking like crazy. And yes, it's not crazy for him to be like, I'm going to go for that record. Like, people say shit, but this was going to be different. And I'm like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But before we get into exactly that day, what turned around that wasn't happening in the last 2 years that made it happen this time? Because you've been working the last 2 years and you had some good peaks. It just didn't come over on the platform, and people started talking.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I had to kind of I kind of had to ask myself that too, right? And I think, like you think you're working hard, and then when you're truly honest with yourself, like you look back and okay, there's that day that I didn't do this, or like maybe nutrition's not on point, or maybe like I'm not really being honest with my RPEs, or like like little things like that that compound. And then even just mindset. Like I remember, yeah, I think yourself, and I think even like a couple other people said, like even before like powerlifting American nationals, like they could just like feel my energy, and it was just like I was just there. I wasn't really like ready to go. I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm there. Like here we go. Um, but I mean, this prep. I mean, I think is one of those things like every prep prior to I think 2022, where you have PA nationals and then you have worlds. I had always been like the underdog. Like it was just like no questions asked, like underdog, like maybe crack the top five, maybe this, then the third. And so I think there's like a different like mindset when like you're okay, that you have to like give everything you got just to kind of crack in. Then okay, hey, now you're projected to be in the lead, and I think there's a different mindset that comes behind it. And with like a lot of people like talking and all this other stuff, and knowing that like you're going on the biggest powerlifting stage in the world. Like I was talking to one of my friends, I was like, I think I'm like the least qualified person on that platform, right? Like that's how I felt, right? Whether it's true or not. And
Holy
oddly
shit.
enough,
First
that's
off,
a
that's
really
holy shit. Sorry, keep going. I want to double back on that in a second.
yeah, and honestly, that's just like it's such a like an oddly freeing place to be, you know? Um, and I think with like some of the noise that was happening behind the scenes, whether I think it's warranted or not, I don't necessarily think it was too warranted because you look at the statistics, it's like, all right, hey, everybody has a bad meet. Um, but like all of that just fueled me so much, and like my competitive aspect comes in. Like people don't understand like how truly competitive I am. Like I actually like I lost sleep over this, like every single night since Worlds. Like I had trouble like sleeping. Like I don't like losing. I don't like underperforming. I don't like letting that be in the back of my head. And it was like literally to the point that like friends were trying to text message me, call me, whatever, and I'm just like, if it's not prep work or whatever, I just don't have like I don't have the energy to give to y'all. like like it really started to get that bad. Like I have like 400 missed text messages. Like my mom in the group chats, like my sister's calling me out in the family group chat, like Delaney, we've texted you like 10 times. Reply, like whatever. Like I like everything was just going into that point, and I think it was just a culmination of all that hard work and truly being honest with myself. Like even there was a time where Joey was like, "Hey, Delaney, like you need to stop overshooting," because I was just so mad about the performance. I was like, oh, "I need to max out. I need to like prove that I'm strong and all this other stuff." Like little things like that to the point that he's like, "Yo, I will start putting percentages in your program if you don't stop overshooting the RPEs."
That's what a
And
coach is
think
supposed to do, by the way. I
exactly.
like I like that he actually stepped in and is like, my man,
exactly.
that's good.
And so it was that and like a combination of some other things that I just like, it just a switch just flipped one day, and I was just like, all right, you know what, enough is enough, like kind of sitting in your kind of like self pity and sorrow of like kind of the past me. It's like, all right, now it's time to play ball and go. And I was like, what better stage to do so? And then when everybody's the best, right? Everybody's a top athlete there. Everybody's got something to prove. And yeah, it was just like this prep was different. It was definitely different. My mindset was different. People around me were saying that I was different, and it just just given everything I had. So yeah, a lot kind of unpacked there.
No, okay, so all right. First off, so you probably perform better as an underdog when people are doubting you. That's a fair statement. Like, there's been a lot of athletes who like doubt me, make me the underdog, and make me have to prove it. But if I'm the favorite and all I have to do is like, and someone else is the underdog, not quite the same.
Yeah,
Is it
like
bad?
I thrive in that pressure kind of piece, like to the point of like when I was saying like when I walked on the stadium into the stadium, and like Pete from SBD and everybody, like they were worried that we were going to get stage fright on there because it's like this is literally the biggest meet in powerlifting history. Like people have glow sticks, is a smoke machine and everything. But literally like I was two steps onto like the stage. I hadn't even gotten to the platform yet, and I could just I promise you, I kid you not, I literally could just feel the energy of all like 2,000 people in that stadium, and I was just like, yeah, this is a moment. like this, it just like consumes you. So yeah, I think the more relaxed I am, I can get lackadaisical, but the more pressure you put on me, the more doubt and the more whatever, it just, I don't know, there's something about it that I just fight even harder. And it's just like an internal kind of intrinsic thing that just happens. But yeah, naturally, kind of that's how it goes.
And coming into this, you thought this is an all-star cast. Like some of these people have won several world titles, been in crazy showdowns, like the Battle of the 93s and freaking Jess Bittner in the 76s, and Noemi, who's like a multiple time world champ. And you thought you almost had like, was it like imposter syndrome where you're like, fuck, am I a superstar like these people? Do I have to prove my worth? Like these people already did prove their worth, and I'm about to.
Yeah, yeah. There was definitely a feeling of that kind of going into it. I remember talking to one of my friends. I was talking to. I literally was like, oh, I was like, out of everybody, at least on the guy side, because I don't really follow the girl side of powerlifting as much, just because it doesn't necessarily factor into like what I do too much. But on the guy side, I'm like, yo, I'm probably the least qualified person to be there. Like, like that's how I felt, whether it's true or not. Like that's how I felt. I was like, that's what I felt the world felt. And so yeah, I felt like there was a lot to prove. I felt there was a lot to do, and I felt like it was time to allow my training to actually translate itself to the platform. Which again, going back to what I said years ago, right? In the last podcast, in the first podcast, like, hey, like, why don't you necessarily post as much or this or that? It came to fruition in a very interesting way during this prep because I was so used to, 2020, 2021, Arnold's, Nationals, etc. I wouldn't post. I'd come out, I'd blow things up, and then I'd leave. And then you just had that feeling of, yeah, like you leave on that high note, and you're just like, nobody can say nothing. I'm going back to my dungeon. But after Worlds, it was like, okay, I came out, I won barely, right? I came out, but it wasn't what it was supposed to be, and I had to live with that negative emotion, right? I had to live with that, and that drove me as much as well because I knew it was happening behind the scenes, and yeah, I showed you some of the clips too, even prior to like Worlds and all that. So I knew it was there, but it didn't translate, and so the world only saw what I put out on the platform. And so knowing that and having that, like that keeps you up. Like I'd be like in the middle of a work meeting, like, yo, I can't wait to get to the gym because I know I'm about to blow something up. We got 12 more weeks, 20 more weeks, whatever days to Sheffield. Like this is about to happen. Like that energy just consumes you because it's like I only get one shot to prove this. Instead of like, hey, okay, I'm gonna show this gym lift, I'm gonna show that gym lift, I'm gonna get the praise and try to take that pressure off of myself because I'm showing off in the gym. which effectively really means nothing, right? Um, and so for the first time, like that piece of the puzzle, that negative emotion was now there. And I had to sit with that for that, like, what, 290 days. Like, I had to sit with that. And I had to listen to the critiques and the criticism and all of that. And it fuels you in a different way. Um, and yeah, that's like, I'm telling you, this prep, like, it was almost like insanity. like like the energy in the gym and everything else was different. Like, a couple people even said, I remember one of my boys I was talking to, they said, Alex, they were talking to Alex Sador because he lifts with us every once in a while, like me, Taylor and Gavin. And they said they were talking to him, and they were just like, yo, Alex just says that he doesn't know what's going on with you, but like, you're just different right now. Like, so something's happening. Like, the energy in the air is just different. And yeah, it finally came to fruition there.
I mean, if this is what motivates you, the the negative taste in your mouth and the talk of people doubting you and being like, you don't deserve, you're a champ, but you're a vulnerable champ. If I show up with my A game, maybe you wouldn't be a champ. And you're like, me, is that what you think? And you hear people talking like he's the champ. Like, even we all know in sports, any sport you watch, whether it's the Chicago Bulls in the 90s, still have games where they just fucking won barely and they won
Hmm.
ugly. That's kind of how sports go, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
Michael Jordan light you up one night, but the other night he's just inching by. He'll win though. Like, that's sports if you follow enough. But whatever, critics will take the close wins and be like, no, that defines you.
yeah,
Really? Okay. Well, let me have 5 world championships and we'll have big wins, small wins, tight wins, wins on body weight, wins by 20 kilo spreads. You'll have it all if you keep going to worlds, right?
yeah,
But anyways, but if you had not resisted the temptation, and if you had been showing the world what you were showing me all along, you would have alleviated that talk a long time ago, but you also would have alleviated the motivation you had leading into this. And by the time the peaking came leading into Sheffield and you're smashing huge lifts, nobody, if they saw what I saw, nobody would be talking shit. And you would have totally lost all of that. I'm going to show you guys. Wait till I unpack what I'm about to unpack. You're right.
yeah,
That's the flip side of showing everybody. If
yeah,
if that's what you need to motivate you. Now, that's not going to help you blow up your Instagram, social media and shit. Like, if Russ did that, he'd be fucked. Like, he would be fucked.
yeah,
But this is what he built his social media, like crashing, smashing big weights and just like, or everybody, right? Like Jamal Brown, whoever the hell smashing big weights. So there's that. But in the
yeah,
end, if you could prefer, but whatever, Russ likes that other kind of pressure, the pressure of doing what he's been doing in the gym and having to carry over. But you enjoy the doubts, the underdog, you want the coming out party. Right. It's all on this one particular day period. And if that's what motivates you, it won't work to show everybody because by the time Sheffield will roll around, everybody would have been a believer. And then
yeah,
you're like, nah, dog, that's not my story. Right?
yeah,
I got you.
yeah,
It makes sense.
yeah.
Everybody's different.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean that's a little bit part of it. But also I enjoy allowing people to have their moment and talk and then allowing them to have to sit stand on their words once everything is said and done too. So
Well, there's that too. Like,
there's a little bit of
people would have been talking less and less shit, getting closer. And now, right up to they were talking shit when you knew, oh no, you don't know what I'm about to do. And then when it happens, they're like, well, fuck. That was a lot more than I expected. Right.
yeah, pretty much.
I mean, so I remember, so the famously, well, I mean, I had said, Doug, if you break that record, I will die. And you replied back, well, you better get life insurance because I'm going for that record. That was always on the table. Was it always in your mind's eye? Because for a lot of people, people talk, people
Hmm.
boast, and no one quite knew if you were actually that close. Like, this is real. Delaney can actually do this. And spoiler alert, we'll get into the day, but you came within 2 inches of pulling it off. Pardon the pun, but that last pull was just almost there. And for a lot of people, for a lot of people, it's like, oh my God. Like if you just drop that if you just change your attempts, let's say you were never going for the world record, you could have ended off with, even more than maybe it was 837.5, maybe it was 840, you get it, but it had to be over the record. If you were just maxing out, not the record, it would have even more on your total. And if Russ and you were going toe to toe that day, Russ would have had to been at 100% to beat you. He would have had to been at 100%. There's no like Russ beating people by 20 kilos some years. That would not happen against head-to-head Delaney Wallace. Like you just showed the world, like, okay, sure, maybe Russ wins, maybe he doesn't. If Russ wins in 83, he would have to be 100% and not miss any of his lifts and have the best day of his life. Or I win. And that's real now. That's real now. People can't be like, no, don't compare Delaney to Russ. It's like, well, you have to now. This is the conversation. It almost happened. If Russ was there, he would have been watching in the wings, be like, he would have had the best day of his life. And he'd be watching the wings as you almost take it from him. And he would have been like, holy fuck, that was close. And everybody be talking about that's the greatest battle in 83s we ever saw. You know what I mean? Like, it's true. And that would be a full-on, all-out Russ. That wouldn't be Russ holding back or whatever the shit. I don't think people like the point, the impact you made with that performance. Were you telling yourself, like, that's what happened? Were you telling yourself, when I'm done, this is going to put everything into perspective for everybody?
Yeah. It was a lot of like, hey, like when I leave this platform, it's good. You're going to know who I am, and you're going to know what I'm capable of. You're going to know that, whatever I say, it's not like for clicks or for views or just because I'm trying to, talk a little shit or just, say what say whatever. It's like, if I told you I posted my last warm up and it was 7:05, it was actually the last warm up. Like, if I say that I'm about to come out and do something, like, just know that, whatever I say, like, word is bond. Like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like it's going to happen. And so, yeah, like, I mean, the record was always the goal. To be honest, if some things didn't happen right before deadlifts, we're actually trying to go well beyond it, but I ended up cramping up during my first deadlift, and it kind of changed the the scenery a little bit there. But yeah, man, I mean, it was always the goal. It was record or nothing. I didn't really care about like the placings or the money or anything like that. I just wanted to kind of bring and put on a statement.
Well, when you were during it on the live stream, we all knew the record was in play and it was Russell's. And like Russell is such a big looming figure in the 82.5, 83 kilo classes, right?
Absolutely.
So it was such a monumental task ahead of you. And it was such a moment of like watching you pace. And I remember telling everybody, okay, 822.5 in 2021, you finish squats with a PR 3 for 3. And it's like, well, all right, he's got a PR there. We're pacing. Then you finish bench again, 3 for 3. And it's like, all right, here we are. He's adding. It's could this actually happen? And then all of a sudden in deads, you're cruising through on deads as well. And it's like, by the last deadlift, and I'm letting the viewers know, holy shit, here we are. Delaney's already at 835. You've bypassed everybody from Jamar to Brett Gibbs to, you're going past everybody now in history. And there's one guy left. And that was the last deadlift you loaded up. And it was like, and you have to do it the old fashioned way, by the way, because you don't have a deadlift record. So you actually have to go full. You can't just chip on your last deadlift either. As a matter of fact, you couldn't chip on anything.
Yeah.
You had to do it the old fashioned way. You had to go up 2.5.
Being balanced.
You had to go up 2.5 kilo increments. Some people, when you're collecting records, you can go up by 0.5 kilo increments. You had the old fashioned way, the old workhorse way. You know what I mean? Like And and it was like, holy shit, here we are. And watching you get that pull, and it goes up past the shin, it goes up past the knee, it goes up. When you're walking out there, tell me what you're thinking as you're walking out for that final deadlift. Are you telling yourself, holy shit? Or are you telling yourself, nah, this was exactly where I was going to be?
Yeah, I was like, this is it. This is the moment. I was like, this is what you asked for, you know? Like this is what you put yourself in the position for. Um, I like I was just soaking it in. I was like, it's my time. That's really what I felt. I was like, this is my time. I was like, I don't care how I'm feeling. I was like, this is mine right here.
And so you got the pull. It was close.
Yeah.
Missed the last, finally missed the lift. How did you feel afterwards? Did you feel, because obviously, regardless of missing the record, it was a phenomenal performance, obviously. And you had
Hmm.
proven a lot of points along the way. And now when you say, I want that record, hopefully I get it in Malta or whatever, nobody's going to be like, no, I roll. Nobody's going to be like, yeah, Delaney's the world champion. It's like, it's like, listen, everybody's going to have problems with Delaney. Everybody, including Russel Orhii. Like we'll see what Russ does in September if he like ends up his total jumps up huge. But historically speaking, everybody, in period in history, like, do you feel like, all right, look it now that you look back, you missed the final lift. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. In that exact moment, like I was like devastated. Like I was devastated. I'm also one of those people that um I'm very I'm very honest with myself. Um and I don't like I hate moving the goalpost. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and if they fall short of it, but it's good enough that they can still brag about, they're like, yeah, da, da, da. Like I was like, the record is what I am here for, and nothing else. And so in that moment, like the exact moment when like I just didn't get it, like I was just devastated. But as I was able to kind of come down from that and reflect on it, I mean, look, I'm still extremely happy with the performance. It's obviously the best performance that I've ever had, and um, it set a statement that I wanted to make. Wasn't the exact outcome that I wanted, but it proved to not just everybody, but also myself that like after a while, you hear enough, you start to doubt yourself. Like, man, like, dude, was this a fluke, or was that it, or did like did can I not do it? Like, and so it just again allowed me to solidify that belief in myself that hey, if I tell myself I'm going to do something, that I'm going to do it, right? And it goes down to just like the little things. It's like following your program, following your nutrition, forcing yourself to sleep day in and day out, again and again and again, like little things done well again and again over time. And I always tell people, like in the gym, like if I go to like a new gym, and like I have the young kids, and they always say, oh, like they always think that there's some like secret thing, right, that's gonna like make you better or strong, or like they think that like whether it's me or Russ or Jesus or Keiko or Gavin or Taylor, that there's like some special thing that's in any of us that just makes us better. It got us to the level. It's just those small incremental things just done well time and time again, and being able to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, on this day, like I'm going to make the decision to do everything and recommit every single day to what that goal and that task is. That you wake up one day and you come out on the other side, and you're a world champion, or you're doing things that you or others didn't think you're able to do. And so um, in the moment, I was extremely distraught. I was just mad because that's just my competitive nature. But as I've been able to reflect on it and really sit on it, I'm extremely proud of what we were able to accomplish. Me, Joey, Alberto, collective as a team, what we were able to put together on that day, and super fortunate, super blessed. Excited for what the future has in store, because I know that there's still a lot left in the tank. There's a lot more work to be done, a lot of things to clean up, and that excites me because that the ceiling hasn't been hit yet. So I'm very excited.
Talking about this. Okay, so obviously we have the world championship coming up, and in the crowd watching was Jones, Ken Gamble, and
Yeah.
he just posted up. He's the European champion he was
Hmm.
obviously at the world championships, At the European Championships, he did an 800 kilo total and won the European Championship. Then at the British Championship, put up an 820.5. Now it's just a week earlier. And
Mhm.
his progress since Worlds when he was in the late 700s has been fucking startling. He went from at the World Championship, decent, but compared to across the world, including the USAPL 82 and a half, somewhere in the fold. I don't know exactly, but somewhere in the fold, but not. But now at 820.5, he has bypassed damn near everybody who's a current active except yourself, Jamar, Russ. I don't know who else 82.5. J1, I don't know even if he posted up when he came over to USAPL under those conditions, if he was even, it was, it, anyways,
I think Nori got an 825.
Nori
I think
did.
Nori
Is
has
Nori
825.
back to 82 and a half though?
Yeah.
He's back
Oh,
to,
well, actually, no, he didn't do his last one. He's still but he said he's coming back. So
he might, okay.
see,
He's
yeah,
capable. Either way, even if there's a couple, like he's in the mix now. And his
absolutely,
progress
absolutely,
has been startling. Um, and he was in the crowd talking to him. He was like he wants you at your best, right? He's the guy like he roots for opposition, and
absolutely.
he wants a phenomenal battle. There's a bunch of other 80s around the IPF or sorry 83s that have hit the 800 kilo total as well. In Canada, we had a couple guys hit into the 790s, and they were the champ Nick Manders, who was missing lifts and
Hmm.
still hit like 791 with a fucking 800-pound final deadlift. Like this guy can pull like an Aharo, and
Okay,
he'll be at the World Championships. He'll
I
definitely
hate
be
deadlift specialists.
dog. Here we go again. Here we go again. And this is him. So he was missing lifts all day, and it looked like because he got sick the week before. Nick was missing lifts all day, and the last deadlift was like something stupid, like 800 pounds. And he had said in his captions previously to the junior worlds, he's like, I don't need the tactical advantage. I can pull 800 pounds. Right? To your point about those deadlift specialists, they could just miss all day and then come out of nowhere with a how you like me now. That's like just stupid. You're like, no
Yeah,
way.
it's infuriating.
It could be like no way. And it's like, well, today maybe way. So
Yeah,
there's people all over. Endo for junior world champ. Now he's in the open. He totaled 800 as well. So the progress is crazy. They're all in. By the time Malta comes around, they're going to get deeper and deeper into the 800s.
absolutely.
How do you feel now? Does this feel, because you had said you liked being the underdog? There's a yin and a yang with this. Your performance at Sheffield, phenomenal. However, I are you the underdog still? Does it feel the same, or are you the guy? And now you're like, fuck, I don't know. You don't know how you feel, or is it you could use the record as is the opposition enough because they're obviously close. Or like if you have a bad day, if you don't fucking
For
have a
sure.
good day again,
Yeah, for
look
sure.
at Jones is going to be 830 by the time Malta rolls around with his progress
Absolutely.
or more. His 820.5, he had room to spare because he didn't have opposition and not close enough. He looked like
Absolutely.
he could have done more than that. Even the junior 83 in Britain just did 815, and he's the
Hmm.
junior.
Yeah.
That's Nathan. So like it's getting tight. So do you feel that is it like how's your feeling going into this world?
Yeah, no, I mean, my feeling going into this world is just consistency at this point. Like I have to be consistent. I don't have the luxury of being able to have like a bad lift or a bad squat day or a bad bench day or a bad deadlift day, right? I'm not a specialist in any three of them. I just chip away, one by one. And so I think that this time that I had with that whole kind of like underdog kind of thing back on like the international stage, it was enough to put me back into perspective and kind of like a reset. But now I know what it takes, right? Like you do it once, you can do it again. I understand what it takes. I understand the work that I need to put in. I understand when I thought that I was giving max effort, there was still a little bit something left in reserve. I know what those things are, and I'm extremely confident that I can kind of replicate that. Um, Obviously, the record, that's always something that. will kind of loom over there. Whether it falls in Malta or not, we'll see. Whether it's even smart for it to fall in Malta or not, I guess we'll also see because
Right.
yeah,
Because you got to
you know
win.
how Sheffield goes, and you know how winning goes as well.
Right.
But I mean, really, with that, it's just um, doing whatever it takes to win. I think also the perspective that I have on the international stage is a lot different than it was my first time around. Because you know me, I'm so separated and removed from the powerlifting world that you were like, oh, you got to watch out for Tim Matagati, and I'm like, what's that? I was like, I just don't know because the only thing I ever knew was okay, USAPL. You have Russ, you have Sean, you have Angela, you have Jamar, and okay, that's it. Everybody else is like, okay, I can't read the scouting report on. I just don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, me and Jerns, I was one of the first people to send him a voice note when he had his day. I wasn't surprised by it at all. It was just long overdue. I knew that it was coming. It was just a matter of again just putting it together on the stage. And so it's going to be exciting to get to compete with my boys and some of the new guys that I just don't even know about as well. So this go around, I want to give the performance that I should have given last year, and I want it to be the battle that it should be. And hopefully, me and all the guys, we can make that happen. I mean, Enna's there; he's going to pull the earth to do whatever he's got to do as well.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's going to be exciting. And yeah, I mean, consistency is the thing. I think the next piece is being able to do it again and again. I think there's been a few guys that have totaled over the 820s and some in the 830s, but not many have done it more than once, And I don't want to be labeled as a one hit wonder. I don't want people to think it's a fluke. And so I'm going to just continue to put my head down and work and just continue to go. But yeah, it was that's kind of what's on my mind.
The rest of the world leveling up is the motivation you need. Where it's like,
Absolutely.
if you're a motivation guy, the rest of the world has leveled up. It's crazy how much they've leveled up in a year's time. And yeah,
Absolutely.
Inahoro, can you imagine Nick Manners and Inahoro, two 800-pound deadlifters battling it out, is going to be insane at Malta. I can't imagine two guys who could pull 800 pounds as 83 kilo lifters battling. That'll be the toughest single medal in like the single events to win. It's just ridiculous when you have
Hey,
guys
hopefully they
like
make
that.
each other do a little bit too much and they
That's
miss trying to
right.
take me out because I'm not pulling 8 yet. I
Yeah,
gotta get to
yes.
750 first.
It is crazy that there's two of them walking around. You would think there isn't, but there's two of these guys walking around capable of 800-pound pulls.
Yeah.
It's a nutso. And yeah, to your point, I guess like so because the world title means more. Well, actually, let me ask you at this point, how much does the record mean to you or the world title? Is it like going into this, it's your motivation? Because the world record is nice because you could silence people in terms of Russ. Russ's name is attached to that and you could silence that.
Yeah.
However, you don't want to, you could risk by overshooting, trying to overshoot on the day because you have to beat the opposition of that day. And is it more important to you to win and be a world champion and you could go for the record at whatever the next Sheffield if you're the world champ? You could do things like that. Like
Hmm.
what's your level of importance on taking that record or taking the the championship and all the rest of it?
Yeah. I mean, the world championship by far is more important than just taking a world record. I mean, again, assuming that you stretch too far and in pursuit of the world record, you end up losing, right? If you hit the world record and you win, then you have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
But with the context of hey, if you push too far and now you put yourself in jeopardy of losing, I'm always a big believer. Don't sacrifice what you want most for what you want right now. And what I want most is to be a multi-time world champion, right? The world record, that's more of an internal kind of vain thing. That's like my competitive piece, like just any man, right? Man versus man. You don't want to, like, you want to, if you clash, you want to say, okay, I am on top. But in terms of like the level of importance, right? I would never want to sacrifice actually winning the world championship just because I want the vanity of just being able to say, oh yeah, hit this world record total. I was the guy that broke Russ's record or whatever the case may be. Because records come, records go, they fall. If I break it at Malta, it'll be broken, in September, most likely by one of the guys in the USAPL, probably Russ, to be honest with you. I expect him to do way more than that, right? Is going to get broken, and then we're all going to be gone 10 years from now. Somebody else is going to break it, right? But world championships, they last forever. They're etched in stone. It's history. It is what it is. So definitely the world championship is more important to me. Whether I'm strong enough on that day to do what it takes to win the championship and break the record, then we'll see. And even if I am strong enough to do it on that day, again, like we have Sheffield again in February, is it smart to, right? So those are things, also
That's
little
true
wrinkles to
too.
think about, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so, but yeah, no, I mean, when I got into the sport, I emailed Joey and I said I wanted to be a world champion, right? And so that's the end goal. That's the dream. That's the journey that I want to take, and whatever happens along the way happens. But keep the main thing the main thing, right?
And looking at the opposition, you might be breaking the world record and winning the title all in once, anyways. I mean, you talking to Germans, he is extremely confident with what he thinks he's going to unpack at Malta.
I
And
believe it.
yeah, like his pacing is he could be around 8:30 now, and it might be around 8:41 is the world record. You fellas might, and you're obviously 8:35, and maybe a little more if you didn't load up on the last deadlift. You fellas might be, this might happen anyways. You might be, what do you think? Are you thinking, I mean, variables happen to both of you, so who knows, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, variables happen. Again, it's a very quick turnaround for me. I think we have like 10 weeks to Worlds. It's a 20 plus hour plane ride. So I mean, you never know, right? Not to make any type of excuses. You never know what happens to me. You never know what happens with him. Um, I don't know. I think like anything else, whatever I need to do on that day, and we're just gonna do, and that's gonna be the end of it there. And if it comes down to having to load up to whatever I got, and that happens to get to the record, then so be it. If it means that we're coming a little bit short, then so be it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be, right? But
yeah,
I,
it's
I
tough to
expect it to
say.
be. I expect it to be a dogfight. Again, we got people coming from all angles, which so it's kind of one of those things where it's like I got to make sure that I'm putting up a nice subtotal so I can defend against all the deadlift specialists. But look out! I'm pulling a little something now too. So I can pull a little something now too. Um, and just let that go. So I don't know what worlds is going to bring. There's it looks a lot different this year.
And what are your thoughts? I remember Anahoro came on the podcast after Worlds, and he said, I'm going to lure Russ back to the IPF. If you win the title, break Russ's record, and you are the number one guy standing in front, and you have Sheffield again on your horizons the whole nine, would you want Russ to come back to the IPF to take a swing at your title and Sheffield?
Uh, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'd really want nothing more, right? So when when I did make the decision to go IPF, and me and Joey had a conversation. Most people don't even know like the story behind it. Joey ended up actually talking to me and convincing me to go this route, and it all made sense. My one biggest fear, or my one biggest fear, not regret, but like fear, was that me and Russ would never be able to compete again. Um, like win, lose, or draw, there's something about being able to compete head to head with the best. Like a record's a record, right? You break the record, okay, cool, you broke the record, but are you stronger? Is he stronger? You did it a year after, 6 months after, whatever. Like there's time. Like it gets convoluted. But being able to go head to head with somebody and just having that energy, um, that's a totally different thing. And so not having the opportunity to compete again was probably the biggest fear that I had. Whether I win or lose, like that's to the gods. Like we'll see if it happens. But yeah, I mean, I would love for him to come back. I would love nothing more for him to come back, even if that means me not being a world champion. Because I thrive off of competition. I want to compete. Um, he knows it's all love. And I want him to be his best, and I want to be my best, and I want to see where the chips fall. So, um, hopefully it happens. I don't know where the what the future holds. I know that he said there is some possibility of him coming back, so who knows? And um, I'll be waiting for him if he does, and I'd love every second of it.
Can you imagine that, Sheffield? You and
They,
Russ, dude,
they might have to get a bigger stadium because he brings a crowd.
dude, it would
It might
be
be 5,000 people there.
it would be insane if like by the time it happens, you can rack up a couple world titles under your belt, have a couple more battles, be battle tested, have a couple more Sheffield appearances, and the record falls, and then he comes back. That would be freaking Sheffield would absolutely the ticket price go. Yesterday's price isn't
It's
today's
not
price when
today's
you go to
price.
Ticketmaster. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that right now. But I mean, regardless, there's some crazy performances. What was the one? Were you able to watch Sheffield much? I know you're competing, so
I peeked every once in a while just to see how the Flex boys were doing and see how everybody was pacing just off of support. But I was extremely locked into kind of what I was doing and being in my zone because I knew it was going to take everything I had to try to do whatever I wanted to do, place titles, records, whatever.
what to you was the standout performance of Sheffield?
I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, what Jesus did is just ungodly.
It's
Like,
crazy.
and the craziest thing is like as crazy as it is, like I expected it from him, right? His training was going so well, like you expected, but to be able to, we're teammates, but he lives in Texas, I live in New York, and so being able to actually see it in person and watch it unfold is still so special. Like first time I actually got to physically watch him squat, at either 1,000 pounds or damn near 1,000 pounds when it's PA nationals, it still just looks different and feels different than seeing it on IG or sitting in a video. So, but I mean, what he's able to do is just it's spectacular. I know that there's still so much more left in the tank, even on that day, and it's just so exciting to see. And exciting that the world got to see that, right? I thought he got robbed a little bit at Worlds last year, and so this was his redemption tour, and then he was able to kind of solidify all of that. And yeah, I can't say enough. I'm super excited for him, and that was by far one of the greatest performances ever.
He just to put in perspective for people, and I'm having him on the podcast. Like we're booking this over. I think we're going to do it tomorrow, but
Of course.
he,
You got
yeah, that was a got to, right? But
to.
he literally did the biggest total tested or untested ever, which means like he literally put
He's
forth
the strongest man in the world.
the strongest man in history our sport has ever seen at Sheffield. Our sport has never seen, ever, tested or untested, a bigger performance, period.
Yeah.
And he won Sheffield based off of percentage of breaking the world record. But it doesn't matter if what formula or whatever, just kilos. There's never been a finer performance, period. That was the strongest human being ever. And
Absolutely.
we witnessed that. It's fucking remarkable what that young man did at his age. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't wrap my head around it. And to your point, like some people, when I asked that question in the King of Lifts story, some people had messaged back saying, like, what about Evie Corrigan? And Evie did phenomenal. For a 52 to total 460 is crazy. Like 445 was the biggest total we'd ever seen in that weight class previously. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give perspective. But the difference is because Jesus is like, we're talking, we all weightlift to be the biggest, strongest we could be. And Jesus is the biggest, strongest we've ever seen, period, ever. Like tested, untested, nothing. It's how do you
there's just something about mass moving mass.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Like even if Gavin and Keiko totaled 950, even if I totaled 900, it still pales in comparison to literally the sheer mass that this man moved on one day, right? And so again, in a strength sport, it's like what is better than literally being the one human being on the face of the earth, no matter what federation you go to, bindi bar, no bindi bar, tested, untested, local meet, international meet, like whatever you want, like the most weight lifted in the world. And so, I mean, everything I think pales in comparison, or would pale in comparison to that performance. Not saying that nobody else's performance wasn't great, but when you talk about, okay, what's the best? What was the greatest one? I mean, I think it's a no brainer that Jesus, you gotta give the man his flowers, man. Like he put on something that we quite might not literally ever see again, right?
Yeah.
Like by anybody else, right? Like it's it's for real.
It,
Um, so yeah,
like it'd be fucking, hopefully he does more like this, but I don't know if it'll quite hit. Like, that was such a special, and it was Sheffield.
of course, it
At
was the first
Sheffield.
Sheffield. You
Yeah,
got the
there's this,
lights,
yeah, it
you
was
got
so
the camera,
special.
you have the crowd just standing. You just see this behemoth of a human being, this almost like godlike form, standing on the platform, like I'm him. Like
Yeah.
it, it, if he does even more at Worlds, it won't hit the same as what it was in Sheffield, because it was just the moment. It was the energy in that room. It was like you could cut it with a knife. It was spectacular to see. Um,
And to your point, you were saying too, where like no bendy bars, no, like look at, sometimes this is the untested record as well that he broke. And sometimes in some untested meets, like, because the untested, it's different. It's all time records. You could go to a local meet and blow
mhm,
it up and break records. Now I'm not
mhm.
saying Dan Bell did that. I'm just saying, period. This is a generalized
Yeah,
statement. But everyone knows, like, the IPF, international standard for lifting. That's like, people could say it's too tough. It's too strict. It's too, and it fucking is the strictest. It's when Jesus Olivares did what he did with IPF international judges, nobody says a peep, because they'll be like, have you lifted internationally in the IPF? Try it someday. It's not going to be like any local meet. It's not going to be like some of these other feds local meets for sure. It's a whole nother ball game when you're at the IPF International Federation and they have their judges there with their jury watching you. For
yeah. I
Jesus,
mean,
it's
12 hours worth of travel and all that too. Like he's not a small like every barrier to entry that is possible to have, he had to go through, and he still did something that no other human being on the face of earth, no matter what weight class you are, has ever been able to do. It's by far the greatest performance ever, and I'm just so happy for him. I'm just so happy for him.
if now, like, Ray's got to come back, but is Jesus a victim of his own success, where it's like, you've done too well? Ray can't come back to that. Ray can come back to, like, he's hit 1,000 kilos and he'll injured on one leg. Like, he'll probably squat 1,000 pounds again.
Mm-hmm,
They'll have a great squat battle. They'll have a sensational squat battle, because I think Ray
mm-hmm.
squatted what Jesus squatted just last December. So Ray and Jesus will have a back-to-back phenomenal squat battle. Um, and if Ray's good, he'll put up some good numbers, but there's 10 years between those men, and Ray's uninjured days are, it's fewer and far between compared to a young guy like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
We need this thing to happen, and to happen soon. And we need Ray at 100%. He's not 100, he wasn't 100% at PA Nats, but he is. I believe he's the number one alternate, or is that Deuce Gruden? Now I'm getting it mixed up.
I think it's Ray then Deuce.
Is it Ray then Deuce?
Yeah.
So now it depends. Does Taylor Atwood, is he, because he was banged up for Sheffield and he had a
Uh-huh.
lot of injuries, as well as
Yeah.
got food poisoning the day
Yeah. Yeah.
before? What if Taylor doesn't do Worlds? Ray's going. What if Ray doesn't do Worlds? Because he was on the podcast talking about, if he feels like he can be uninjured in time, he will go.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not sure if he's going to be uninjured. If he doesn't go, that means, well, A, we're going to miss Ray versus Jesus at Worlds. That's too bad.
Again.
Again, and that sucks.
Yeah.
However, that means Deuce Gruden's going to Worlds.
Yeah.
That's another
My boy
83
Deuce.
kilo, man. There's another 83 kilo that killer that's going to be going. And America will be sending
That
two
means we're gonna have
83s.
we got two people from the US on the podium. More points
It's
for us.
it'll be more points, and it's man, that 83 kilo class is looking more and more stacked, huh?
Yeah.
If this just keeps happening. I mean, we'll have to see. All right, kind sir, let's play a little thing called the name game. I say a name, you could say one word, two words, get into a story. But you could go as little as literally just one word, or you could like have a big conversation on it. All right, first name off the top, Russel Orhii.
83 kg goat.
Second name, Brett Gibbs.
Um, a legend that I never really got to see. I never like I was really so new into the sport that like I understand the significance of him, but when I hear the name, it doesn't necessarily like hit. Like the same thing like John Hack. I never saw John Hack, so like I know the aura of what John Hack is, and I kind of see him online now, like on the untested side, but I don't truly feel the significance of it. Although I know what they did for the sport is just like crazy. So yeah, a legend I don't understand.
Jurens Kingamu.
IPF Worlds 2023. Battle of the 83s.
Tim Monagatti.
I miss him. I miss him. I heard he went to the 74s. I miss him.
He'll be at Worlds, but he'll be a 74. He'll be
Yeah.
74. He's now he's going. He wants to face Taylor or whatever. We'll see. We'll see what Taylor ends up doing, but we'll have to see. Deuce Gruden.
That's my guy. Nothing but love for Deuce. Hopefully I'll see him again soon at a PA meet.
Gavin Aiden.
Burn your ships. That's my guy. He had a great meet. And
That is
always late. Always late. Always late.
both those are very true.
He's always late because he burns his ships before he actually gets to the end
That's
destination.
the problem. That
That's
would
what
be
it
the
is.
problem. Taylor Atwood.
The GOAT, that's my guy, like a mentor. And yeah, just hope he gets healthy.
And people say like term GOAT gets overused. Not in this point. Not for
Yeah, no, I
Taylor.
mean,
Taylor
his
Atwood, you're
best is one of the best. And yeah, the performance that he put on a couple years ago, it's still one of the best of all time. Probably second to Jesus's, of course.
yeah. Or like it'd be arguable. Maybe Jesus is number one, Taylor number two. Taylor took all of the different formulas, but then Jesus took the big one being kilos, and being the
Exactly.
strongest, whatever.
I think the kilos just mass moving mass just takes it all. But I mean, get every formula, nobody can beat him. That's you know,
It's a big one as
oh,
well.
yeah.
Last one, Joey Flex.
Thanos. That's the GOAT of coaches. There's no argument about it. There's no debate. Just unarguably just the greatest coach of all time. And I have no problem arguing that. Uh, and changed my life in many different ways. And the amount of people that he touches, like he's just the master of his craft. And I don't think he even gets enough credit for it as he should. And so yeah, just Joey Flex when it comes to coaches, he's the absolute GOAT. You could put any team up against him, any coach up against him, and they fall short.
He sure as hell had a great Sheffield. I'll tell you that right now.
Yes, sir.
All his
25,
athletes did well.
25% of the roster was flex. I mean,
Was
think
that
about
right?
I
Is
mean,
that real?
think about that, right? 24 people, five of them were flex. What? Five divided by 24. What? Like two, 5 times. Oh, five times five. So what? That's 20%. 20% of the roster was flex. A little over 20 because it's not an exact 24.
And on the
25.
men's side, number one and number two were both flex.
Yeah.
which is pretty freaking good. And yeah, the women's was like international. It is what it is. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
man,
mean,
it
to
was.
think of that, in an international meet where only 24 people get invited and 5 of them are off of one coach, I don't. How can you argue with that?
It's
The formula works.
he had a hell of a day.
Secret formula works.
It was a good showing. Listen, man, thank you for coming on the podcast. Much appreciated. You're actually coaching now, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm part of the Flex fam now too.
How do people get a hold of you for coaching?
Yeah, just go over to flextrainingsystems.com. It's in my link and it's in Joey's link, and you'll see my picture on there. Just shoot a contact, shoot a message, and say, hey, you want to work with me? And I'd love to pour whatever knowledge I can into anybody that decides to work with me there.
There it is. Anybody you want to thank before I let you go, kind sir?
I think the usual. Obviously, thank Joey, thank Tina, thank the rest of the Flex fam. Thank you to Pete and SBD for putting on a great meet and allowing me to be a part of it. Thanks to my family and thanks to everybody out there, friends, long list of people, everybody that supported me and allowed me to do what I needed to do and put my headspace in the headspace I needed to do, get to in order to be able to perform how I do. And so, yeah, that's my thanks there.
Okay, listen, everybody. If you're listening, whatever platform you're listening on, please do subscribe. Give us high ratings. It's appreciated. Until next time, 6-pack Lapadat, 6 up, and we out.